These videos are presented by the Brain Injury Alliance of Colorado through grant funding from the Colorado Brain Injury Program with monies from the Colorado Traumatic Brain Injury Trust Fund. We would like you to remember this series is directed toward a wide audience, from those who have suffered a mild concussion that may dissipate quickly to those who have suffered a moderate to severe injury. Please remember that each case is different. Some symptomology may disappear quickly. For others, the effects of the injury may be more long-term.
For the next few minutes, we'd like to talk about caring for the caregiver. I know. Who has time for that? I can't stress enough, though, how important it is to remember yourself through all that you're navigating right now. We so easily put ourselves second or third or fourth when it comes to our children, our jobs, our families. It sometimes seems like we give all that we have to everyone and everything else, leaving us in the end with, well, not that much. The best support you can provide for your loved one is being fully present. In order to be fully present, it is so necessary to identify what energizes you, what makes you feel alive, what lights your fire. So, what energizes you? Maybe for some watching right now, that question can feel next to impossible to answer. Sometimes there can be days when it's hard to maintain faith that there is still joy out there, and what pours out of you are tears. Maybe for some, though, you're in a different place. Maybe you can close your eyes and instantly see, hear, or feel experiences that are so joyful or peaceful that you feel positive energy running all the way up from your toes. No matter what end of the spectrum you are on, I challenge you to continually revisit the question, what energizes me? Take note on what your mind tells you. It could be that your answer depends on the time of day of the week, or what's happening around you. Just take note and honor where you are in that moment of reflection. Part of caring for yourself as a caregiver is to be aware of moments, days, weeks, months when you're feeling worn. Stress is real, it's tangible, and that's the case for folks who aren't caring for a loved one with a brain injury. You wouldn't be sitting here listening right now if you didn't have some degree of stress at this point. So what is stress really? Ultimately, it's your body's response to a demand or threat. Your nervous system releases stress hormones to prepare the body for defense. What can happen, though, is that if the demand isn't going away and the stress response isn't managed, then rather than it being a defense, it can feel like a full NFL offensive attack. The repercussions can be significant, including racing thoughts, only seeing the negative, physical aches and pains, digestive issues, eating too much or too little, short temper, feeling overwhelmed, the list goes on. Recognizing the amount of stress and its consequences on your functioning is paramount in caring for yourself. Once you've identified how stress is rearing its ugly head in your life, the next step is sorting out what to do about it, especially if that triggering demand or threat isn't going anywhere. A great web tool, helpguide.org, lists several factors that influence how you manage your stress. The first of which is knowing your support network. Social engagement is critical in managing stress. And for caregivers, sometimes what's needed is connecting with others who are walking a similar path and finding support from one another's shared experience. Support groups exist for a reason. Trying to walk this path alone is limiting. Joining with others is empowering. If you haven't already, do a quick online search for brain injury support groups in your area, and that could be for both the caregiver and the survivor. You might find that you assume dialogue in a support group surrounds the story of what happened to your loved one. Although that may certainly be part of it, you might be surprised to discover that others are feeling the same emotions, like guilt, that you might be experiencing. Guilt is a very common feeling as a caregiver. Guilty that you're not doing enough or a not good enough job. Guilty that you survived the car accident with minimal injury. Guilty that you didn't make your son wear his helmet that one time. Guilty that you felt happy that your other child made honor roll, while your child with a brain injury is struggling to learn how to read all over again in high school. Whatever the case may be, guilt is a common thread in the caregiving experience. And now we'll hear from Ariel and her experience with guilt as a caregiver.
Hi, I've been helping to care for my sister who is a BI survivor for several years, and I'd like to share my thoughts on the subject of guilt. It's important to recognize these feelings of guilt and deal with it. Otherwise, it will eat at your soul. Name it. Look at the monster under the bed. Many things can contribute to feelings of guilt. One that affects me from time to time is the feeling that I hate to admit, but I hate where I am right now. I'm resentful that my sister is hurt and can't do some things for herself. It's okay. My life has been changed too. Say it out loud, write it down, get it out. By doing this, you will be reminding yourself that you're only human, and you'll also be reminding yourself of how amazing you are to have what it takes to care for a loved one. Every day, you fight through all of it. I think we all have this picture of the ideal me, the one that influences how we relate to ourselves and others. Guilt arises when the ideal you and those everyday choices conflict. There's not a match between the two. The ideal you may have been a parent who never missed a school event, always available to do for others. Now, miss a game or something else because you had to take your dad to the doctor or stay with your loved one and you feel like you're not measuring up. Guilt kicks in. What seems to help me is I identify my feelings, recognize I'm having this emotion. I identify my expectations. What have I failed to live up to that's making me feel this way? Scrutinize my expectations. Are they realistic? And if they're not, you've got to let them go. But most of all, be easy on yourself. Things have changed, and if you're always running against the tide, you won't be able to keep up. Sometimes you've got to ride the wave. It's the only way to live.
Other factors that can influence your tolerance for stress include things like your attitude and outlook, your ability to deal with your emotions, and your sense of control. Becoming keenly aware of your state of mind is critical, especially if you want to do something about it. As you become aware of your thoughts and feelings, your internal voice has a choice. You have the power to choose what you tell yourself to push through another day. Will you get angry at yourself for feeling tired? Be angry at the world that your child got sick or injured? It could be that where you are in this new chapter of your family's life is simply angry, maybe resentful, maybe guilty like what Ariel shared, maybe hopeless. I get it. You may have more reasons to feel that way than not. But if you have any inkling to move away from that state of mind, like you just want to shake it, then I assert this challenge. Recognize that you're tired or angry. Honor that you feel that way. Yet choose to also tell yourself that you and your loved one have been gifted another day of being called a survivor, even if it doesn't always feel that way. You have the gift of a new day to have another crack at becoming stronger, doing better, loving more. William James, a late 19th century philosopher and psychologist, is quoted saying, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." To choose one thought over another. What will your choice be when the days are long and hard? When you wake up and remember that your child's accident wasn't a bad dream, it is your family's new reality. You may not have had much control in your child incurring a brain injury, but you are still very much the pilot of your thoughts. What will you choose? This self-talk or your internal dialogue can have a profound effect on your behavior and response to what's happening around you. I encourage you to develop your own positive, energizing mantra. This mantra becomes your weapon against stress. I found myself at times closing my eyes and saying over and over in my head, "Bless me with patience, bless me with patience, bless me with patience." It's also usually followed by a deep breath. And that's just getting through a typical morning with my healthy 4- and 1-year-old daughters. Because let's face it, being a parent of healthy kids is exhausting and trying. But now you've been tapped on the shoulder to take on a steeper hill, a longer climb. Your mantra, your unique soul-filling self-talk can energize you to take one more step, reach a bit further, and truly stand with strength for your loved one. Remember that question, what energizes you? Another way to frame it might be, what brings you joy? We could take that a step further and ask, what brings you joy in spite of the obstacles in your path? Maybe what comes to mind is taking a hike, just reconnecting with nature and getting lost in the quiet. Maybe what comes to mind is dancing. Maybe it's jogging, maybe doing a crossword puzzle. Whatever it is, identify it and make a plan on how it will become part of your weekly normal. Solve the problem of, I just don't have the time. You do have the time. You'll just need to give yourself permission to reprioritize how your time is allocated. I know. You may be rolling your eyes at me thinking, no, I really don't have the time. Fair enough. I understand it can certainly feel that way. But take this as a challenge. Find the time because you're worth it. For some, finding the time might mean waking up 30 minutes early to get a cup of coffee and crossword puzzle in before the grind of the day unfolds. For others, it means finding respite care in their town to be able to leave their child for an hour or two. Whatever the solution, I can wholeheartedly tell you that it's a problem worth solving. When you've taken care of you, then you are in the best place you can be to take care of others. In best-selling author Bryant McGill's book, Simple Reminders, Inspiration for Living Your Best Life, he simply states, taking care of yourself is the most powerful way to begin to take care of others. I couldn't have said it better myself. In closing, I want to highlight for you how important this topic is, this whole caring for yourself business. Just like you have choices every day in what your internal voice says to yourself, we had a choice to place this segment at the end of our video series, like an, oh yeah, and don't forget about you piece. Wouldn't that have been ironic? Instead, we chose to place this topic first. This is purposeful, and we hope that resonates with you. As you care for your loved one, remember to choose you too. Connect with others, maybe even in a support group. Energize yourself with a strong mantra. Take time to connect with what brings you joy, however simple it might be. Because if you're not going to make it a priority for yourself, then who will? Strengthen yourself so that you can be the pillar of strength and perseverance your loved one needs.